not require wings like them, but it has put the government on mat. The language of anti-social or proxies is not cutting much ice at large, but what it does not mean that government's vote base has been affected. CJP is still a story in making. CJP has got a face in Sonam Wangchuk, but the question is, can it go beyond him like AAP did with Anna Hazare, or will it disappear in a couple of months? But some quick points as per the survey that has been done, which is courtesy vote by of Amitabh Tiwari. 87% of people know about the party, 29.9% rate CJP leadership is great, only 38% would like to vote for it, and 65.9% of the SC community is aware about it. Other point to be noted is 41.4% believe that it will impact NDA. 60% of ST voters believe that BJP will be impacted. Only 36% of urban voters feel BJP will be impacted. And CJP's main support is coming from 18 to 24 years old. It is seen as a right of center disruptor. And lastly, upper caste Hindus are opposed to this party. They are likely to vote against them in a big way. Muslim, ST, SCs are in support. Congress vote is unaffected as per the poll, and a lot of people undecided on CJP because CJP's story is still being written. Now let me open the conversation. I'm joined by Amitabh Tiwari, political analyst and the man responsible for this entire data, Sunita Aron, senior journalist, KV Prasad, senior journalist, and Brijesh Pandey, my input editor in studio. Let me straight away go to Amitabh. Amitabh, 87% know about it, 38% likely to vote for it. But what really caught my eye is that SC, STs are pretty much aware about it. But if you look at the performance of BJP post 2014, they have done pretty well in SC, ST constituencies. So how do you reconcile both of them?
I think we need to understand the context of the CJP. And that is primarily arising from the fact that the NEET paper leak is merely a trigger. It is arising from the fact that the voice of the youth is unheard or in this entire political system. In the first Lok Sabha, we had 30% of MPs in the age group of 18 to 40. In 2024, that number is 10%, whereas the population is 40%. The average age of cabinet is, I think, 57, 58. The average age of Congress Working Committee is 68. The average age of BJP Parliamentary Board is 67. The average age of CPM Politburo is 68 to 70. Most of the people who are leading the country are grandfathers or grandmothers. That is where the crux of the problem lies. Because the voice of the youth is not represented by any political party, be it opposition or the government. I think that is why the Cockroach Janata Party has caught the imagination.
But you still say in the survey it's a story in making.
It is a story in making because it is just one and a half months old phenomenon, correct? But I think primarily the genesis is lower representation in all the political parties, and the fact that most of the universities today, in most of the universities, elections are not being held, okay, or are in a limbo, correct? So all of this is giving voice to this party who is seen as at least speaking their language. So if, as you mentioned, 18 to 24-year-old is the
yes,
the highest category supporter, understandably, but how many 18 to 24-year-old leaders are there in India? How many 18 to 40-year-old leaders are there in India of substance, correct? So I think that's what it is, and we have to wait and see how this pans out. May not necessarily be a political party in the making or impact electoral results, because if you see one of the questions wherein we ask whether there is a space for a new or a new party based on youth, the answer is mixed, correct? Because people also want the existing political system or the parties to give more voice and more representation to the youth.
Okay. Brijesh, this data is pretty full, it's a fulsome data. But I would like to keep to a couple of points. This data also says that upper caste Hindus are very dismissive of the Cockroach Janata Party. But Cockroach Janata Party in itself is a very city-based phenomenon.
Well, I would say that, honestly speaking, I don't know how, we have arrived at this conclusion that upper caste Hindus are against Cockroach Janata Party. But, if you look at if you go by penetration wise, it was very clear that, that with the increase of internet, increase of social media as a platform to express your view and opinion, the fact of the matter that the CJP got more than several millions of instantly, pretty much decided that yes, its name and what they want to do or what they are trying to do was accessed by many, and so the people know about it. Second is, if you ask me that whether it is going to create a big difference to the NDA, I think it's a little bit too early to say anything to that effect. What I would say is that it's a work in progress. I completely agree with Amitabh. It's a work in progress. It has been barely a month. We don't know whether they will be able to develop something like Aam Aadmi Party or BJP, where you have a dedicated cadre who's working for you. But one thing is there, that what happened before Friday and what happened after Friday, or rather early Saturday morning, when Sonam Wangchuk was forcibly removed from the protest site and taken to Safdarjung Hospital, was a big shift. There was a huge shift in anger. There was a big shift in number of people who were going there to attend this protest. And I think the government was completely unaware of the kind of footfall it would get as far as this protest march to Parliament was concerned.
Okay. Sunita, there are multiple things, but I confine myself to the data which I have in front of me. The data also says one more thing, and I want you on that. It is being seen as a disruptor of the right-wing ecosystem. But if I may say that, do we really have disruptors of the right-wing ecosystem when it itself is the center of the Indian politics?
Kartike, I think it's too early. It's premature to make any such observations, I personally feel, because right now emotions are very high. And I personally feel that it cuts through caste communities, gender, age. It's an issue where parents are concerned, where students are concerned, children are concerned. So everybody is agitated. They're frustrated because the leadership has kept quiet. They have not come out openly. They could have had a dialogue. And it's an issue based. It's not something, if supposing the issue, although it's very difficult examination and leaks to set it right in one go. But even if they address it, I don't think so. All these guys they are not going to be catalyst of change. Youth, the urban youth has to vote first. They hardly vote. And in rural areas, Sanatan still prevails. So I think right now, everybody is concerned about what has happened, the way they have been bashed up. I think the bigger issue is that the way people, whoever they were in plain clothes and they were bashing up students and they were not cops. So I think that is a very, very big issue because it's a serious thing. But I don't think, I think for some time, let's watch what happens. Modi has already told NDA allies to talk to students and explain them the opposition game. So they're vulnerable.
Okay, Mr. Prasad, do you think that CJP has the capacity to tap into something which update the volunteer-based system? Because, very few parties take immense time to build cadres. Only left and the right has been able to do it. Congress in past 20 years has been unable to build cadres. It's not possible. So the other successful system which was visible in last 20 years was a volunteer-based system when Aam Aadmi Party came. So do you think for any new political party, do you think volunteer-based system is sustainable, suitable? Is that where you feel the CJP can go?
Well, Kartika, on the first go, I have a different characterization. I don't see CJP as a political party, number one.
Okay.
Primarily, they themselves have not declared any political ambition. By their very act, they have been saying they are on a particular viewpoint. The fact that on education, reforms, everything else, they feel their voice has not been heard by the leadership across political lines. While the government of the day has to be taking primary responsibility, please remember they have kept that very clear that it is not addressed to one particular political party. That's my interpretation. Maybe others will have a different viewpoint. I think that is why you see increasingly political leadership across other parties other than the BJP are willy-nilly now trying to find a space in that by extending some kind of a assistance and some words of comfort. That also stems from one of the issues that I feel political leadership in the country has not really allowed student leadership to develop. It has either become highly politicized, and also the kind of elements that have crept into the student leadership has, the feeder system that used to operate in this country, where you get political leadership up the line. I mean, when we were in college, we had Lalit Makan as a student leader, Arun Jaitley as a student leader, or Goyal as a, there are many others who went on to assume political leadership. This is Delhi. Outside of Delhi, you have many such things. I think that feeder system has more or less been again very tightly controlled. That is probably one of the interpretation. So as I said, I don't see it as a political party, but yes, what they showed yesterday has made many of people revise their opinion that this is more than cyber warriors and more than keyboard warriors. So that thing they demonstrated, yes, on Monday, that they're flesh and blood people who came out with a cause, and that determination was shown when they almost reached Vijay Chowk. So you can, that shows the kind of with which we went in Karthike.
Okay, Amitabh, your sample size is small. It's 1,000 plus. How do you maintain the diversity of the people you get in touch with? I want to know that in terms of method. How do you do that?
Essentially, what happens is that whatever is the sample size, let's say 1,000 plus, and this exact number I do not remember because it's last month's survey. The sample is in proportion to the population of the states. So that's number one. If that is not achieved, then the results are weighted in accordance with the sample so that they reflect the actual population. In terms of male, female, urban, rural, various age groups, also the attempt is to mirror the exact population dynamics of the country, but those are rarely achieved because those are limitations of the sample. But then the results are weighted accordingly so that they reflect the actual population. See, 1,000 plus or whatever it is, scientifically it is enough to gauge the sentiment. Where it fails is when we try to use small samples to predict seats, because we are in the first past the post system. There is where small samples are difficult in predicting the electoral results or specifically the seats. Otherwise, to gauge the sentiment, I think it's a fairly good enough sample, because if I recall, CSDS samples in their entire course of events used to be in the range of 2,500 to 3,000. So that's fairly the size of the samples which are used.
Okay. Before I just move on to the other issues, you also say in this survey, Amitabh, which is very, very interesting to me, because you are saying that a lot of things are undecided, lot of parts are moving. So when you say the lot of opinion is undecided, are you saying they are undecided on CJP, or they have not been able to configure what CJP stands for? What do you mean by undecided when you say these are the major takeaways at the end of it?
No, when we say undecided, because if you see in some of the questions, or largely in most of the questions except for awareness, the number of people who are saying that they are undecided on a particular issue, let's say their entry into politics or who they will damage, etc., that number ranges from 15 to 20% to even 25-30% in some cases. So since it's a very new phenomenon, it's a new concept, overall the people are still gauging as to what it stands for, whether it will be able to
but
create.
Then 87% know about it and 38% are inclined to vote for it.
So knowing about it in today's genre, as Brijesh ji has mentioned, I mean, we have 100 crore plus internet users today, and they are consuming 1 GB of data on a daily basis. 1 GB of data. In 1 GB of data, people are consuming 150 to 250 reels on a daily basis. Correct. So awareness is not an issue. People are willing to vote for it in the sense that it's a new thing, and the youth, particularly the age group of 18 to 40, which is around today 40% of population. And as sir mentioned, Prasadji mentioned,
Okay.
that it is across political parties, correct? So the damage, of course, in the survey, it says that the damage will be to BJP because BJP is in power. I mean, whenever a new entrant comes, when AAP came, it damaged Congress in Delhi and Congress in Punjab because they were in power. But since representation across political parties, whether be it Congress or BJP or the left parties, is lower, and they are not raising the issues pertaining to the youth, I think there is an inclination. It's a voting intention, correct? It's a voting intention or an inclination to vote for if they form a political party in the future, and if these political parties, which is the established political parties, do not listen to their voices. See,
So,
the number of cabinet ministers.
are we looking at a Gen Z phenomena? You know, this is one common question I'm opening to all, but Amitabh, I'll start with you. Are we looking at a Gen Z phenomena in a limited way?
I think it's a wake-up call for established political parties in India to give more representation and voice to the youth. I think I would say that. I mean, Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, whatever you call it, because we have 40% of
Contested
population is the age bracket of 18 to 40, but we have 2 ministers in the union government less than 40 years of age, of a cabinet of 70 plus, correct?
Brijesh.
So if unemployment is the biggest issue, how are people who do not understand the issue or do not relate to the issue going to solve the issue? Correct. So that's also a big uh, worrying factor for the youth, correct? Because their voices are not being heard, their issues are not being raised. Sir.
You know, this was, but you know, the entire Gen Z protest is not on employment, it's on education system. Anyway, Gen Z protest can be on multiple things, it can be diffused also. But are we looking at a very, it's a new phenomenon in India, very young people. See, I would say people, I saw, I don't know whether to use the word children is not the right word, but very, very young people, you know, in the sense, you know, maybe they would have been 17 or 16. I saw young people.
See, it also reflects our inability to apprehend what is going on in the society. I remember, you know, in 2013-14, before the election, you know, talking about how BJP is trying to use social media to their advantage. And I still remember, you know, a couple of very senior editors said that, you know, all of these are just keyboard warriors, people who tweet on social media or tweet on Twitter or like, you know, put it on Facebook and all. They just do that. Nobody comes out and vote. And when 2014 election happened, and then later on, you know, many realized the kind of tectonic role it played as far as spreading the message of the government of the day or the party of the day is concerned. The fact of the matter is that I broadly agree with what Amitabh is saying, is that there's a big disconnect between the 18 to 40 group and the number of representation they have, or they say within their own respective parties and all. For us, young leaders is like, you know, quote unquote, not what like Prime Minister said, but you know, most of our young leaders are at the age of 50, which is usually, you know, 10 more years and you are fit to retire if you are in a central government job or state government job. So there is a disconnect, and you know, there's also, it happens, you know, whenever you have a party which is as powerful as BJP, you know, 2 absolute term majority, and like you know, now they have a created majority on their own with their allies and newfound allies per se. There's also this you know, feeling within the party that they are above these kind of rapprochements.
Okay.
And I think this sheer inability to come to terms to communicate with the student has also resulted in
Sunita,
this.
is this a new phenomenon? Very young people, you know, 10th class onwards, BA being so politically active?
I don't think so. We should call that politically active. They came on the streets for a limited purpose. They're not doing politics. I don't think so. They're even concerned whether it's Congress, BJP, SP. Dimple Yadav was going around as a mother, nursing people and everybody, but that doesn't mean she'll get all their votes.
Okay, digital
I
awareness
think-
turning into civic actors. Digitally aware people turning into civic actors.
but
Let's put it
listen,
sociologically. Yeah.
But listen, I somehow feel it's a issue based, and it is one issue. Maybe tomorrow they can have another issue. But when you're talking about young people, disconnect and everything, what is Rahul Gandhi? What has he been doing? He has been moving around colleges, universities, addressing students, talking to them. And he may not be of that age, but he's trying to talk to them. Then you have certain young people in Samajwadi Party. Even TMC, which is broken and bruised, had some young people who were there in the parliament. I think it's less to do with the disconnect. The anger is totally directed towards the government because they had a specific demands. They had one demand was that the minister should go and the system should be corrected, and the government refused to comment or even break their silence on that, and that led to this type. As for the young people coming, I think we should must take note of the fact that this generation is very different from us. They are more aware, they are more active, they can defy their parents, and they can be on the streets.
Okay, Mr. Prasad, when was the last time you remember education became an issue? Or, when was the last time? I don't...
The Mandal agitation.
Mandal agitation. 30...
That was one major...
1989-90.
Yeah.
Which is like, which is like more than 3 decades ago.
Yeah.
But that was in the context of equity and reservation. I mean,
yeah,
to say,
but it had education as a factor because many people from felt they will be at a disadvantage.
but why do you think NEET became an issue? Why is NEET propelling? See, Vanchuk was doing something else. He was booked under NSA. He was in Ladakh, and he comes out and he gives that, and he becomes a catalyst for that CJP thing. So there are a lot of moving parts. But what I'm really interested in is CJP is functioning on one single issue, which is education, and that is also resting on another single issue, NEET.
Well, just going back to the fact that this is where the younger generation feels most about their future. How is their future being directly affected? One, larger education system, and NEET being a symbol of the inefficiency that has crept into the whole thing, and the way people have been exploiting this. Now, I was having a conversation from somebody in the authority, I would say, I would not really say department, but that person says, "Sir, ye to hota raha hai." I said, that's not the answer. And then that man counted, a laundry list of what all happened, when all, and even, So I said, that's all gone. Nowadays, things are different. I mean, you talk to engage with any of these children, they have total different priorities. They're very clear in the mind what they want to do. They're very far too focused. They're focused and they know there's intense competition and you have to, it is a survival and the best. There's no other way. And one paper leak can cause a lot of, you've seen, apart from the unfortunate instance of death, the kind of distress, the mental trauma these children have gone. I mean, you prepared for months on end and then everything vanishes overnight. And then you have to re-energize yourself, reorient yourself. All this is stress. I mean, where is the stress busting for them? I mean, I can share something as a personal experience. I've been nowadays teaching in a college, postgraduate level. So I engage with students on variety of issues. So I'm not saying I'm fully aware of whatever they're talking about, but it tells you that there is something which we need to listen to them and
Devi, I have a question for you. What sort of political ideas you get back from these students who are postgraduates? What is their idea for protest?
I have questions who are questioning the very of the arguments and narratives that are being built in the society. Some are questioning why is it we're not allowing liberal thinking, critical thinking. They ask me questions. Why are we not hearing diverse views on issues? Why are we only being talked about one particular view? And there are others who follow a particular. So
are we talking about a post-Modi generation?
Pardon me?
Post-Modi generation, in the sense that those who voted for in 2014-19.
Well, I have never asked who they voted for. Let me be very honest, because that's not. I have been trained. I never ask here my own children where they vote for. If they come and share their choice, I have not told them where to vote, nor have I asked where they voted.
Okay, Vijay, you wanted to say.
I'm just saying that apart from the paper leak, what also triggered the protest of the students was that the fact that the NTA, which was conducting tests, they were completely dismissive of the hurt, the anger, and the apparent flaw in the system. It took a 17-year-old boy. I'm forgetting the name. He was the one who on social media started exposing about how these examinations were being held and how a couple of contracts which were given in complete violation. And then, people, the kids started getting more and more angry about the fact that here is one, when you have there's a paper leak in NEET, then there's a re-NEET, and then again there's a paper leak. And what the government or the authority which is supposed to take the exam, conduct the exam properly, is giving you spiel after spiel, trying to, whitewash the entire issue. And that was a huge trigger. That 17-year-old boy, imagine Karthike, was called for the parliamentary panel and they all applauded him with the way scientifically, he exposed the entire system.
Okay.
So I think that was also one big trigger.
I think the biggest takeaway...
Kartikeya,
30
just one
seconds.
line.
Yeah.
I think the education system, we have been experimenting with the entire education system. Even the CBSE, we messed it up. So it's not just one need. People are looking at various streams. They're looking at the education. And then it's not the focus of the government at all. We're talking about other things. We're not talking about education. We are only experimenting with it. So I
Okay.
think there is a general restlessness about it.
Okay, but I think the survey is very, very clear, and I think it makes one point very clear. And on that note, I would like to conclude this, that there is an awareness about the Cockroach Janata Party, which is more than 80% of the people. And more than that, the awareness in the ST, SC and Muslim is there, which means that the awareness is broad-based. You know, it's not confined to certain segments. Though yes, I must tell my voters that it's not a huge survey, but it's a reflection of what is going on. And that reflection has been discussed with my esteemed panelists. So I thank all of you for joining me, and thank you, Amitabh, for providing us that data, your vote by. And this is all I had on 1.1. Thank you. Confirmed. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been eliminated. But it was just not about Khamenei. It was also about the entire regime which the Americans wanted to take out.